Man, I love hearing a new voice, a fresh voice to the game, and I think that was a great a great way to spotlight someone in the community that's actually putting in hours and hours and hours of work creating content. And you and I have learned that's no joke, the stuff that he's doing. I've even, I don't know if you know this, but like I've DM'd him before on Discord and just asked different questions about logo making or video assets and YouTube. I mean, yeah, the guy is just a wealth of knowledge, a wellspring of knowledge. So I'm really thankful for great J-Man.
And I love the little fake feud that J-Man and Iron Sheik are doing. A friend of the channel, Iron Sheik. So
yeah,
maybe down the road we can get both of them together at the same time and do our first ever 4 content creator podcast. Who knows?
Fatal 4-way. That would be awesome.
I know, that's exactly what I was thinking. We go Fatal 4-way. Finally.
That would be great.
Match.
Well, speaking of Fatal 4-way, we are on the road to Elimination Chamber. We'll talk more about that next week as that event gets closer. But this is February, the month of love, right? It's also the briefest month. It's also Black History Month. There's a lot going on in February that we're celebrating and that we're honoring. And we thought this would be a great time to highlight some of our favorite couples in the world of WWE TV, both on screen and behind the scenes. Lee, do you have any thoughts or feelings, particularly maybe the feeling of love and admiration for any WWE couples?
Yes. So my earliest memory of a WWE couple is one that I think most people who are in their late 30s, early 40s probably share this sentiment. Back when Elizabeth was
that was my first
Mega
thought.
Powers, and Hogan was like protecting her, and Randy Savage was jealous, and then he became this uber bad guy, and then he had this redemption moment, and then he had that moment where he got down on one knee and Elizabeth, and couldn't say the H, Elizabeth, will you marry me? Yeah.
Will you marry me?
When she responded, oh yeah, I was like, oh, my heart is melting. I now know what love is. And unfortunately, behind the scenes, they were close to divorce. But in front of the camera, ooh, that was it for me. Like that was
I loved?
That was where I figured out what love is in childhood, right?
You know when that storyline got really good? When Jake the Snake gave him a cobra in their wedding gifts
for the wedding gift. Oh yeah, that was when I decided I will never trust Jake the Snake. He is the worst ever.
Yeah, that was so good, man. He had a snake in their wedding gifts. Oh yeah, he got tied in the ropes. That was a great storyline. And you know what they stopped short of on WWE TV is like they didn't tell the second part of that story. There was a part where Ultimate Warrior was going to try to fight and like redeem Randy's legacy, and somehow like Jake locked him in a Cobra room as well. I don't know if you remember that. It was like a glass window and Warriors like beating on. That match never happened. They cut it. It disappeared from the world of televised wrestling because of behind the scenes stuff. But I always wanted to see. I liked Villain Jake. I really liked that he was just a twisted individual at that point in wrestling, in playing psychological games with people, especially messing with their wife. How can you do that? How do you mess with someone's wife and give her a snake in a box as her wedding gift? Right? What was that story? What was it? There was, maybe you remember this, Sunday. It was like AJ Styles. There was somebody like going to his house and messing with his wife. Do you remember who that was?
Ooh, Wendy. Yeah, it was.
That was.
It was current other company's world champion.
Some balding guy with a towel around his waist. That's who it was.
Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal TV show. But yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I do. I do.
What was the point of that? Just harassment of a spouse? Speaking of couples,
trying to make it personal, so to speak, and trying to make it Yeah, yeah, just trying to amp up the stakes. It's like
Was that
when
AJ's
Randy
real
Orton,
wife?
yeah, yeah, it
Okay.
was
And
Wendy.
are they, do you know, are things
Yes,
good?
they're, as far as
Okay.
we know,
I don't know.
they're
I have
together.
no
Yes.
idea.
Nowadays, you can't guess at these things. What about
Yeah,
you,
I
Rusty?
know.
Who's your favorite couple,
Oh,
whether it's
easy,
modern or
easy.
historic?
Cody and Brandy Rhodes,
Oh, of
easy,
course, of
easy.
course.
And Liberty,
Roads to the top.
Little Liberty. It's a great show. Like they're so likable behind the scenes. But I will also say a very close second. I mean, I'm a Cody Mark. It's no secret. But like, as far as a couple and a real life couple, like Miz and Maurice are
Yeah,
so likable and so much fun. And I love that
right.
Miz and Mrs. show.
Yeah,
I think Maurice could come back to WWE TV and fill a void that there's not we used to talk about this on the early days of the show, but like the role of the valet, right? The
yeah.
role of like the interfering
Miss that.
manager, the distracting female, like that was like a staple in pro wrestling.
Right.
In it, no more. This just doesn't happen, right? But like
Except for Paul
Maurice,
Heyman.
yeah, but he doesn't do anything. Like Solo does it, right? So Paul,
Right.
Paul is there and he talks and he's annoying, but like he doesn't affect the outcome of the
That's
match the way the beautiful woman at ringside that was the consummate. Now, on some level, Scarlett's doing that, right? On some very small level. Like recently she jumped on
right.
Bobby Lashley's back and she scratching at his eyes. And I was like, the valet, she's back. Like that was a stereotype that was like there were probably 10 plus valets in the height of that era. And now
Right.
they're not a thing at all, you know?
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Any
I
thoughts
agree.
on Miz and Maurice? Do you ever watch that show?
I have not. No, nor have I seen, they've got on Hulu now the Bianca and Montez like Love and WWE
Yeah,
one, so I just I I I just don't have a lot of bandwidth, I guess I should
right.
say, for additional content. The only
Yeah.
show I watch beyond like Raw and then Wrestle Talk for everything else I miss is that This Is Awesome with Greg Miller. I do love catching those,
Oh yeah.
but I catch the PLEs, I catch Raw, and I catch a couple other things beyond that. I just don't have any evenings left over, so I
Yeah.
miss some of those. But I know a lot of people who do really like them. So
Historic.
yeah.
Now you did ask like historic couples. I really liked. Um, I really. Is this okay to even say? I really liked Gold Dust and Marlena. Like there was a
Oh yeah.
season where she was a great ringside distraction. She
Right.
affected the outcome of matches
Right.
um in kind of the pre-attitude era where they hadn't quite yet pushed into like the
Right.
role of the smutty
Yeah.
etc. But she was a really great, that was a fun couple, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. This episode of Champions Chat brought to you by Smutty Excedrin for all your
I thought you were gonna
pornographic
say by the
ideas.
Rhodes family, because as again,
No,
the Rebel.
you
I was
said
like, yeah,
Smutty
it's like, yeah,
Excedrin.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
No,
man.
so then second favorite for me in terms of it seems like they're all tied to storyline, right? Because the good stories make it memorable.
Yes.
But that time when Test and Stephanie McMahon were at the altar and Triple H comes in and goes, I got something to show you. Take a look at this. And he takes her to a Vegas wedding chapel and like puppets her, which
Yeah.
nowadays, consent. Ooh, yeah. But
Right.
anyway, puppets her and is like, I saw him take him, to be our, and then they became like the power couple. And then, of course, real life, all that good stuff. So yeah, that was one of my favorites. And by the way, I saw this on a documentary, but John Cena, young John Cena, was in the audience in the arena when that moment happened. And he said it was one of those things that like shaped him as to like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite form of storytelling ever. So
Wow.
there you
Wow.
go.
I used to
Yeah.
watch whatever that Bella show was, and like John Cena and Nikki Bella were a couple, and like they were the most annoying couple. Like they were just like, because like Daniel Bryan and Brie were a couple, right? And so you'd see like they're like this really happy, healthy, like great marriage, and then you've got this dumpster fire that's so petty and fighting over probably fictional scenarios that the producers gave them, but it was like they were just not likable at all.
Yeah.
I would be I would regret it if I didn't give a shout out to honorable mention Candice and Johnny Gargano, like it, but in NXT, they were the center of some of the greatest story ever with the DIY implosion and Champa. I mean, it was as dramatic, if not more so, than the Mega Powers, explosion. Just on a much smaller scale. Like you had to really be invested in the black and gold brand to like follow that in that era. But it was and like I think Candice has a ton of talent. I think she is getting a pretty raw deal out of it now, as being as such an afterthought, and she doesn't even accompany DIY to the ring, and DIY is finally getting a push, but she's not part of it. She needs to be in the story. She needs to be Miss Gargano, Mrs. Wrestling, and be there with them. And I would even say more than a valet, like more than just a pretty face. She needs to be part of the brain trust that is DIY, especially if they're about to go on a title run, which I suspect they're just building this feud with Judgment Day. Is that the Mania match? Maybe like it feels like it might be. I don't know, building towards Mania.
Not the tag team one. No, I think R-Truth and Miz, the Awesome Truth. I think they're going to dethrone Judgment Day at Mania. But who knows?
Okay. Well, maybe it's maybe it's the elimination. Maybe it's Elimination Chamber. I bet that's on the card. Elimination Chamber. I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of modern day couples, I know that I would say Seth Rollins is probably one of my least favorite characters of the last decade, give or take. But Becky Lynch is by far not only my top female, she's in my top 5 wrestlers, period.
For sure.
And the promos, but shout out to both of them on Monday Raw. The promos that both of them gave, where on the early Cody promo, Seth Rollins looked at Cody and say, "What can I say except you're welcome?" And
oh man,
it was like, ooh. And then Becky comes back later and she's like, "I have to explain to my daughter why I'm bruised. I have to explain to my daughter. I have to explain to my daughter why her dad wants to beat up Maui." Like those two like parallel.
That was really good.
Like, those two are great.
There was a line, speaking of the Seth Becky stuff, like it came into the forefront in that the Vegas presser too, when Roman, he said something about that's coming from a guy that steals his wife's shoes. Remember that? He called Rollins out for wearing those fancy patent leather dress shoes with the white bows on them. And I thought that was great because Becky she's known for like kind of flamboyant ring attire, and I love, I don't like Rollins at all. I think he's dead weight to Becky. I think he's slowing her down.
Wow.
He doesn't do anything for her in ring. He doesn't do anything for her story. And like, if you're going to be husband and wife,
bridge those.
They need to do it. They need to do it because I think people are getting bored with Becky, and I know people are bored with Seth. And if they don't explore them as a couple at some point, just no one cares. I think they're on the verge of irrelevancy with how much female talent is coming up with Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill coming. I think they better do something to make us care about the Rollins family, or because I don't see Becky taking the belt off anybody at Mania, right? Again for another title run. Like I just don't see it. I don't know. But I would love if Priest cashed in on Rollins and he was just devastated. And then Becky ran out to console him. Like that would make me care. That would be more interesting than anything that could happen in ring with Becky alone and in ring with Seth alone. That show the reality of their marriage and the intersectionality of where the script meets real life. A husband would comfort his wife and vice versa if it was the most devastating loss under the most egregious circumstances on the grandest stage of them all. Like, make us care about you, please. We want to care about you, Becky. We want to continue to see you as the top girl, right? But you're on the verge of losing it all. You really are. With Bianca's return, Naomi's back. At some point, Alexa Bliss and Carmella are going to come back post baby. There's only so many ladies, right? And the women's tag title, there's only one set for every show, right?
Right.
So there's only so much you can do, and you can't keep hodgepodging these dumb tag teams together like Tegan Knox and Natalia. Like, get over it. Like, speaking of worst couples, any tag team that they've just thrown together in the last 3 years.
Dishonorable mention.
Yes, all tag teams that were two solo superstars that now they just weave together. So,
well, I think when they do it right, that just hits the magic button so hard that they try and change. Like Awesome Truth, for example. I mean, I could legitimately see them taking the titles off Judgment Day because they've woven that together so well. But usually it's like, okay, let's spin the wheel over here. Let's spin the wheel over here. Okay, the Great Khali and Bronson Reed, you're now a tag team. Go. And you're just like,
terrible. What? Okay, speaking of Bronson Reed, here's the thought I had, since we're just spitballing about WTV now. So, or at least we're about to. Why have they been pushing Ivar so hard as a solo superstar when they've got other big men waiting for their chance, like Bronson Reed? Why was Ivar in the Elimination Chamber tournament instead of,
so that LA Knight could have a quick win? But
give LA Knight an actual opponent that's an up and comer. They're pushing Reed, right? Like, he needs a chance.
Maybe
come on.
He lost against SmackDown, spoilers, but he lost against Bobby Lashley.
You're right.
Or and maybe it was Raw. I don't remember which.
No, you're right. Yeah, he lost. He lost to Bobby Lashley. It was a great match, though. It was more entertaining. Right. How many times do we need to see Ivar's backflip? Like, how many times is that? How many times do we need to see a squash match against Tozawa? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather see Otis featured, or I'd rather Alpha Academy get a tag team push than see Ivar, who has an injured partner, continue to be on screen. It just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense.
That's interesting, because I've enjoyed Ivar quite a lot, especially since he and Otis had a cruiserweight match as super heavyweights. Like, I've really enjoyed his push. He can do things for his size that it's like when, Rikishi famously, whenever he took a hard clothesline, he did this like 6-point flip and landed on the ground. And every time I saw that, I was like, that dude is way too big to be doing that. But yet he pulled it off with such panache. And it's similar with Ivar, but you're right. You could only go, like, the first time I saw, the Otis versus Ivar match, that cruiserweight flippy stuff from him, it was like super unique. Now they've gone to that so many times, but it's like, oh yeah, of course he can do a flip. So I mean, I can see it from that side of things. It's the uniqueness is going to wear down, and especially if he keeps getting his butt whooped.
And I'm not down on Ivar. I would love to see the Viking Raiders have a tag push, right? I'd love to see them separate the tag belts and give them a set of the tag belts, right?
Yeah.
Terrific idea. Oh, I can't even believe I thought of that. Where, but it's like you got
Last week's
so
episode.
many tag teams waiting in the wings, and you've got two sets of tag belts on two solo superstars that are not a tag team. It's
Wow.
maddening. It's maddening.
Wow.
Again, that's the worst couple in WWE is two
Is
solo
any
superstars
throw.
that they rolled the dice and Yahtzee. Oh, this is a recipe for success. Like that's out of
Right.
the playbook of the previous administration, and it's got to
Mm,
stop. It's got to stop.
agreed.
It's got to stop.
Agreed. So then let me ask you this. So Marvel is probably moving towards Battle World with what we've seen on Deadpool. The whole idea is they stitch together every version of the universe and let them fight it out. So if there were some sort of WWE Battle World where every tag team from every era were in like a Dusty Rhodes Tag Team
Oh
Classic,
wow.
who would be your pick to be the final tag team of all tag teams in WWE
Oh my
history
gosh. Past, present. Oh, that is
and future? The
yeah. That
Rock's
is
grandson and Roman Reigns' kid.
that
That's
is really so gosh, I wasn't expecting to think this deeply about it. Um some of the best tag team work of our lifetime has come out of the New Day versus the Usos
okay.
feud. So, I mean, it was there's a reason they kept that feud going for so long, and they put him in
Right.
a cage, and they put him in a, I mean, like hell in a cell, and gosh, it like that was probably the top of highlight point of highlight I mean of tag team wrestling. um
Okay.
so to not pick one of those two tag teams would seem ridiculous, right? Because
Oh,
um, so I would say those two would be the finalist of Battle World Tag Team whatever. And I
okay.
would probably say the Usos. I would probably say
Oh,
um or the three-headed giant of the New Day, and you didn't know which two you would face on any given
right.
night. I mean that would probably that would probably be it. That would probably be it,
That's
right?
good logic.
And
That's
so
good
many of
logic.
those people have then held other titles or done other runs. And Kofi was world champ, and Big E was world champ, and Jay
Right.
Uso is this kind of main event guy, and Jay has been pivotal to the storyline of the last few years. And so it would probably be,
Yeet.
yeah, I know, it'd probably be
Okay.
one of those two.
Well, before I give my answer, in the comments section below, let us know if there were a Battle World scenario where every tag team in their prime, with the push that they had, with the their ability, everything, who would be your pick? Let us know in the comments section below. Mine, you said it was ridiculous not to pick one of those two, so I'm being ridiculous right now, but I
No,
think
no,
the
with
ultimate
the premise that
boss.
I set up, with the premise that I set
Right.
up of the height of tag team wrestling, the best
Sure.
era, the best teams, but you can take it
No,
any way
yeah.
you want to.
Well, for me, the best era of tag team wrestling was clearly the 1980s. Like I've not gotten over that. And the ultimate final boss, even when they weren't in WWE, they were so important that WWE was creating teams that looked just enough like them that they could say, "See, we've got our version of them." It was the Legion of Doom,
Yeah,
Hawk and Animal. I would
that's
say
yeah.
that would be those are maybe if they don't win the thing, they're the final boss, right?
That's who,
They're
and I
who
think that's who
the
most people
Usos
would
have to
say. I think
go
that would
through.
be
Yeah,
like the Family
probably.
Feud answer out of 100 polled.
Right.
It would be the number
Yeah.
one answer, I think.
LOD. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
I could see that for sure. But I mean legitimately like in the 80s, 90s, their aura was just simply like when they showed up, it was like, oh gosh, they're about to wreck people. Like it was
Yeah,
just that's what it was. It was like the Hurt
yeah.
Business actually tried to play off of that a little bit. Obviously, they had kind of the Hurt Business was LOD plus the Nation plus, their own unique thing. But like that feeling of like, oh, when
Mm.
they show up, It's so okay. So the Brawling Brutes would even be that template. Like when they show up, oh, people are going to get hurt. That's just the way it's going to be. And the big metal spike shoulders, the heavy metal
Oh yeah.
aesthetic, like
Yeah,
WWE
they
legitimately
were a
tried to rip
spectacle.
off there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When they
and they
entered
backed it
the
up.
stadium, they were a spectacle, and it felt like they were like bad dude bikers. Like you didn't want to cross
Yeah,
them.
they came in
It,
on bikes a lot. Yeah,
there was a time in my life where certain people would enter the arena and like I was legitimately afraid like if they came in the stands they would kill
right.
me. They would just kill me. Like, and like Legion of Doom, like I sat ringside and like one man gang was like, and I remember
Oh,
thinking like, if I yell the wrong thing, he might punch me in the face. Like legitimately, I'm afraid.
right. No, I
Is that,
get you. And theme song, not nothing against the Usos. Their versions have been fine,
yeah.
but even if you go down to theme song and the way it started out with Hawk going, like I still that like I could listen to that for workout music, and that's all I'd need. Give me that and
Yeah.
Real American, and I don't need whatever's on the radio right now.
Right. I,
I'm the old guy.
if we're looking at legacy tag teams, um, exclusively, I would probably put the Heart Foundation there. I would probably say
Oh,
the Heart
yeah,
Foundation as like, yeah, like gosh, they were just they were a better in-ring version of the Legion of Doom. Like they could
hmm.
like Anvil was as powerful as Animal, and Brett
Hmm.
was a better wrestler than Hawk, right?
Yeah,
But the Heart Foundation did, I mean, they were the tag title holders in that
right.
era for the longest time. Like they had the
Yeah,
belts, they did the work. The crowd didn't necessarily, they weren't as always over with the crowd, but
right.
they carried the division. I mean, they put it on their
They did.
back and they worked. So Matt, they would be, I would probably even, yeah, I would put the Heart Foundation over the Usos in the New Day. So probably the Heart Foundation would be my
Interesting.
overall number one Battle World. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so then last question before we call it. If you could pick one classic tag team in their prime to face one current or semi-current tag team in their prime, who are you pitting against each other? Comment below for everybody else, but Rusty, classic tag team in their prime, somewhat modern to modern tag team in their prime. Who do you want to see?
Current tag team would probably be DIY.
Okay.
They do things in the ring that are so entertaining. They work a crowd
Okay.
so well. Against a classic tag team, I think DIY versus maybe Demolition would be really fun.
Interesting.
Would be really
Okay.
entertaining. Really entertaining.
What about DIY versus DX? Like our truth called out. Oh, you a DX here? Like get Shawn
That's
Michaels versus
funny.
Gargano,
That
and
would be,
I don't know. I'm just curious.
that would be incredible. I think I'd rather see DIY versus the Rockers if we're talking Shawn Michaels tag teams. Like
Okay.
that would be a heck of a show. That would be a heck of a show.
Yeah.
Janetti, the Rockers were phenomenal in ring. They really were.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm struggling to think of the current tag team, but I'm going to start my thought and see if I land somewhere. So my classic tag team would be the Brothers of Destruction, Undertaker and Kane. Talk about the ones that got thrown together, but it worked.
No, they
Like,
made sense at least. Their story made sense. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I need a current tag team, and as we've discussed, the tag team scene currently is so underdeveloped. Like,
Well, if you had
I don't know
four
the
big men
Judgment
in the
Day.
ring too, it wouldn't be very entertaining. You'd have to have someone that
Yeah.
could kind of carry the match athletically.
Right, right. Yeah.
Maybe the
So maybe
Mysterios or
Judgment
something like
Day.
that.
Oh, the Mysterios would be a squash match, but
or like
sure.
like think about like the luchador era. Like if you had like
Right.
Juventud or something like that, that would be a lot
Ooh.
of fun versus a big, monster tag team like that.
Yeah. Maybe, well, that'd be classic versus
Probably
classic. I was gonna
DIY.
say
You
that.
probably want to see DIY against the
I mean, when
Brothers
you
of
said
Destruction.
DIY, that was like, well, that's the team I want to see. So I've got to go a
Yeah,
different direction. I was trying
yeah.
to pivot hard. I don't really think that Chase U versus the Undertaker, or Brothers of Destruction would be that great.
You don't want
I
that.
don't know.
You
I
don't
don't
want
know.
that.
So I don't know. Let me know in the comments section. One last time. Third question. Who of the modern tag teams, if we could have in their prime Brothers of Destruction, who would you want to see them face? And I'm not sure. Maybe Alpha Academy. Maybe I could see the rest in peace. Thank you. Like promo battle.
Terrible.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
Man, they would bury him. They would be, and you just assume Brothers of Destruction. That's going to be a squash match, no matter who they go
Yeah,
against. Once they finally catch them, right, and grab them, it's just
I got
over.
it.
Just gonna bear hug them.
Whoa.
Let
What
us
the heck
know.
is
Well, just tell
that?
it. Whatever it is, let us know. Now you've got your promo set up for you.
If you were watching the video, apparently if you do, oh, I can't repeat it. Anyway, no, I've got it. All right. I thought of it because I
Something's
did say
terrible.
semi-recent as well. So I want to see in their prime the Hurt Business
Oh,
versus Brothers of Destruction. That's what it is. The Hurt
cool.
Business is probably my favorite faction of the last however many years. So the version of it that would be
Yeah,
Bobby
it's like, who would the
Lashley,
tag team be though? Would it be MVP
right?
or would it
No, no,
be
no. Bobby Lashley
Apollo?
and maybe Shelton
Hmm,
Benjamin. I don't know. Yeah, because then you've
nice.
got the athleticism, but you got power, but you got one power that's more powerful than both. But the two of them would also be, like they could equal Bobby Lashley if they combine their forces. And then you got Shelton, who's like the wild card who can do all sorts of stuff. That's mine. All right, I got there in the end. It just took a lot of thinking and a laser light show, apparently.
Yeah, we got to figure out how to do that.
I know, right? What was that?
That was a special moment,
Hidden
whatever it
Zoom
was.
codes here, guys.
Yeah, yeah, nice. Well, take us out, Lee.
All right. Well, we hope that your Valentine's shenanigans were enjoyably happy and that you had a great anti-Valentine's Day for the rest.
The
But
Galentines.
the Galentines,
Yeah.
the yes, yes, yes. So it's an honor to be a part of this community. I hope you enjoy watching wrestling, and I hope that you will like, share, and subscribe our Champions Chat content because we're going to keep making it because we enjoy it. And I hope you enjoy it too. See you next time. Bye.